welcome. Thanks for coming in person, and thanks for tuning in, those who are tuning in. I'll introduce myself real quick, and then I would love to go down the line and have everyone introduce themselves. This is a panel on acting and the actor's life and what that means to all of us. So first of all, I just want to check in and hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for coming. And I would also like to say to you, congratulations on wanting to be and persevering in one of the hardest professions that there is. So it's going to be a fun conversation. I'm Chapman. I'm a casting director for about 35 years. I'm based in Richmond, Virginia. I'm CSA, but I work on an awful lot of projects in this area as well. And who are you?
Hi, I'm Madelyn Farris. I am an actor and writer. I'm based in Baltimore, Maryland, but I travel everywhere the acting is, so.
I'm Wes Johnson. I'm an actor, comedian, cartoonist, writer, father to a mini dachshund. Actually, not an actual father, it's an adoption situation. And I'm delighted to be here with all these wonderful actors today.
Hello, I'm Janea Palmer Cruz. I'm an actor as well. I joined SAG after about 3 years ago, and I've primarily been working in the New York market actually since then. Even though I'm local here, I also rent an apartment there, so, you know, just doing whatever works.
Hello, everyone. I'm Al Soto. I'm an actor, podcaster, done some TV host, primarily work in the DMV, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and New York markets, and really excited to be here to talk about the world of acting.
Well, thank you all for being here. Greatly appreciate that. The first question, and we don't need to go down the line, but I would love each of your stories of when you decided you wanted to be an actor, and follow that with, and when you decided that you had to be an actor.
They sometimes happen around the same time, you know. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like the Little Rascals. Hey, kid, let's put on a show. You know, we do things outdoors. We do things for the muscular dystrophy, put on shows in the backyard, do little plays that we'd send to Count Gore Duvall that he would end up, you know, doing things on air. Got bit by the bug very early on, and it's the kind of thing where it's not that I had a moment where I had to do it. I just always knew that's where my heart was. And if you follow your heart, you just are, you know. I've had many people along the way tell me, you've got to find something else, get something else, go get a degree, go do this, go do that. And my feeling was, I'm going to be climbing up that ladder. You want me to build a safety net, but I want to go high enough up the ladder that a safety net's not going to do me any good anyway. And, you know, as you're climbing, as you go, as you make progress in this life, as you climb up that ladder, you can either fall and drop or just keep going no matter how hard it is. And when you find something that you love, then it's not as hard, you know? We find trouble, we find difficult situations, we grind, we go. But the choice, never had one.
Anyone else want to share their experience?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same was kind of for me as a kid. You know, that's when it kind of hit me, and then my mom put me in classes, dance classes, acting classes. And then it was just for fun as a kid, but then as I developed and grew and trained, I was like, I can't let this go. I can't stop. And so I majored in theater and dance in college, and then I went to the Gaiety School of Acting in Dublin, Ireland, and took some film classes, and that's when I kind of discovered the world of film. And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. This is amazing. And I remember I did my first background role in Pennsylvania. It was this like indie film. I was a soldier, and I remember my role was just to run through the snow, and then I get shot. And I like fall dramatically into the snow. And I remember it was like a 12-hour day. I was freezing cold. I was soaking wet. But I was so in love with it that I just was completely unfazed that I couldn't feel my toes. I was like, that's how I know that I have to do this, because like anyone else would think that's crazy, but I was like, I love this.
But it was here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. For me, yes, also in my youth, I remember in middle school, we did a Christmas Carol, and at the time, I guess, middle schoolers couldn't handle, at the time, I guess, the entire play. So we had 5 Scrooges, and I was the 3rd Scrooge in Act 3. But after middle school, then went on to high school and did a lot of musical theater. Bye Bye Birdie, Oklahoma. And it wasn't until I started mingling with the film community in college and undergrad where I started getting an interest in film, and just did indie films for friends. They were doing student films at the time. But it wasn't until I did, I guess, a film called Step Up, which was starred Channing Tatum and Jenna Dewan. That was probably my first major background role where I just kind of fell in love with being on set and just couldn't believe that we were getting paid to dance in a nightclub. Ever since then, it's just been a fun journey since. And that's pretty much how it got started. I can't stop.
Madelyn, do you?
I mean, it's pretty much the same as everyone else's story. I sort of always knew that it was what I wanted to do. I don't remember not knowing I wanted to be an actor. And then much to the deep worry of all of the adults in my life, I threw myself into it. I got into a magnet school for high school for arts. And then I went to a very expensive, but wonderful school for my BFA. I studied at Pace University and the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. And I've just been sort of unable to stop. I did have a couple times where I genuinely took a couple of breaks to be like, is this a healthy pursuit? Am I still myself when I'm not doing it? Which I think is important to do at least a couple times in your life, so that your self-worth doesn't get completely tied to, your job. It's still something that I love, even all these years later, even at a point in my career where I think a lot of the traditional metrics of success are just not really possible for me. I get to still do work that is meaningful and that I love, and I think that's the real testament to whether or not it's the thing that I love as opposed to the thing I was good at, and so I did.
Wonderful answers, and as a casting director, those are the answers that you definitely want to hear. I have very similar background story and training, and I knew immediately that the actor's life was not for me, but I am fascinated by actors. I don't know how you do it. It's amazing. And so I would love to move on to the conversation about what training you had, and you have had amazing training, and do you continue with your training today, like any athlete should, and what tools do you use every day to further your career? And please know these actors are strong in film work, commercial work, voiceover for gaming, all background work, stand-in work, all sorts of different elements. And we're particularly talking about film, but they all have theater on their resumes as well. So whoever would like to talk about their training and what tools they use. Let's start there and see where that conversation goes.
I never had a chance to go and do the training. I wanted to go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. My parents didn't want to get behind it. And my father and mother basically forced me into the military, which they're thinking, oh, well, we've got a very artistic, sensitive young man. Let's put him in the military. So I ended up becoming a paramedic. Worked in emergency rooms, spent 3 years doing this. But in the meantime, while I was in there, I kept on the side trying to get little shows going, little things going here or there. I couldn't get the training I wanted. When I got out of the Army, I started doing stand-up comedy. I started going out on the stage, and people were like, are you going to continue being a paramedic? And I'm like, you have to continue to study to be a paramedic. And if I'm not studying because I'm out doing stand-up comedy at night or improv or things of that sort, I'd rather be killing them on the stage than out in the field. So, basically I would learn by doing. I'd learn the hard way in stand-up. The first time I remember getting up for an open mic night, and they had a clock, and they'd set it for 5 minutes. And I had 40 minutes of material all ready to go. And the guy ahead of me, a great comedian and a juggler by the name of Kevin Lee, loses one of his little he's juggling like a chainsaw bowling ball in a scarf. You know, how do you follow that? And it's they have one of those little fans, circular fans up top, and his scarf is still going. As I start my routine, he comes up and goes, "Excuse me, forgot this." Whoop, pulls it off, and he gets a big laugh, and then I'm standing there, tick, 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 start doing my material, and the guy in the front row starts heckling me. And I realized what I didn't do was prepare material for hecklers. My 40 minutes of material seemed to go by in about 2.5 minutes. At about 4 minutes, I reached over and grabbed the egg timer, went ding. I turned back to the microphone and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, that's my time. If anyone needs me, I'll be at home hanging in my closet. Good night." And that got the first laugh of the night because it was genuine, it was real. And I realized at that point, you've got to bring something yourself, something real. If you wanted, I was sort of glossing over. I was just sort of telling jokes. I was standing back. I was outside myself up until that point. And it was a painful lesson. So do you end there or do you keep going? And I do that with improv. I started doing that on stage. I started doing that with film. Wait a minute. On film, my first couple things are horrible because I'm doing my stage work in front of a camera, realizing it's way too large. And it's more of an internal thing, and it's small ball, and they're all different things. Learning by doing sometimes, if you're lucky enough to continue and persevere. You know the old song, "I get knocked down, I get up again, no, you're never going to keep me down"? I'm either stupid or persistent, but I just kept getting back up.
Great. We're glad you did.
Okay, yeah, on that improv segue, I finished training at the Baltimore Improv Group, taking the 5 curriculum courses, and currently a part of an improv team called Plot Twist. We do monthly improv shows. So it's interesting, I actually found improv a little later in my acting career instead of initially, just taking theater classes and acting classes in undergraduate level and then workshops. But I feel that improv, I would recommend taking improv because a lot of commercials, maybe not so much in scripted television or film, but in commercials sometimes they want to see improv ability. So I would recommend taking an improv course. The Baltimore Improv Group is fantastic. A lot of the instructors there went to Groundlings, Upright Citizens Brigade, some of the big improv schools. So that's kind of like the recent training I've had, but I would recommend a lot of CSAs have great workshops. So if you see one, if you're a SAG-AFTRA member, you can go to some of these workshops for free. Some are paid. But Mike Weber was one that was fantastic that I went to. Katie Kalaki, who's local here at DMV.
She's amazing.
She's an incredible coach. Yeah.
Well, we've dropped a couple of initials here, and SAG stands for Screen Actors Guild. It's now part AFTRA, which is American Federation of Television Actors.
Television radio artists, yeah.
Television radio artists. They are together now. They're not separate unions. And then CSA stands for Casting Society. We still use of America, even though it's an international.
Yeah.
So we refer to it in conversation as Casting Society, but the initials are still CSA. How many of you, and I want to hear your stories as well, but are you members of any groups, associations, unions, clubs?
SAG-AFTRA, AGVA I started with, doing a play, Rapmaster Ronnie. I played Ronald Wilson Reagan in Garrett Trudeau's play. I actually moonwalked. It was crazy. And but in order to do that, it's the Guild of Variety Artists. And that was my first union, which opened the door to give me more discounted rates to get into SAG. Right. And then to get into AFTRA, which used to be 2 separate payments. Now it's easy, just one payment, you're in, yeah. A big one.
It is a big one. And in this market, in the Mid-Atlantic, you have to decide at what time it's worth joining. Is it worth joining? What work it takes you out of, and all of that.
Yeah.
I love this question. I joined SAG about 3 years ago, and I'm really glad that I did join because it's so funny because I did so many films and so many short films and commercials throughout my career here, and I'm really glad that I did the non-union world for so long, and I held on as long as possible, I became a must join, which is like I booked a principal speaking role in a SAG commercial, and then I got that lovely letter from SAG like, hey, would you like to join?
First taste free.
Right? And then I was able to do 3 more SAG projects after that until I had to join, and they were like, you can't work any more SAG until you pay the fee and you join. And then I booked, a full-time gig as Natalie Portman's stand-in for like 7 months, and I was like, oh, I have to join. So I joined, but I was really nervous because I know a lot of work here was non-union, which it still is, but that kind of gave me my resume and my working ground and my background and my training, and all of that was super helpful. But what I noticed is SAG really protects you. Mm-hmm. They really have your back. They make sure you're paid the correct amount, paid on time, and all the fees are due and residuals, because I don't know how many non-union commercials. I still have one airing. It's a Pizza Bolas commercial. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like Pizza Bolas, and I'm dancing. I got paid $200, and I was background, and it's still airing.
When the residuals come. What's interesting with the union, though, is that we just spent. I was on the negotiating committee, and we fought for 3 years over this whole thing about AI, because they really wanted to keep our rights, which meant that you do a voiceover, they can then use your voice to train the machines to then create the characters without you ever being in there. And there's still people out there who do mods, who do things online, who are not the companies, that I hear me out there saying things that I never said, which I think is very dangerous, and it's just wrong. And I had a guy send me a letter asking for permission to use my voice to train his stuff to do what he wanted. I said, I can't let you do that. And he's like, but I can't afford you otherwise. It's like, we do this because we like to eat ourselves. We like to pay our rent. We have families. This is what we do for a living. And when the union gets involved in these things, you can give somebody a real break if they want to pay a low rate. In fact, it's surprising sometimes. People are surprised that they can get in and be a signatory or get with a signatory and do a project union-wise, and it's not going to cost them that much more, but it's going to protect the artists. It's just very important to be protected at a certain point and to have that union looking out for you and doing the paper, because frankly, we're all right-brained creatures. We need someone with a left brain.
And I also love that it forced me into the New York market, which I was so scared of. Everyone kept saying, hop on a bus, go to New York, whatever. And I was really scared to navigate it, but I was forced to, because I was like, there's no SAG work here. What do I do? Mm-hmm. And so I started taking classes. Actors Connection is a really great tool. They have tons of workshops. I started taking classes almost once a week in New York. I would just take a bus and come back the same day. But it taught me the train system, taught me how to navigate New York, taught me, all of the things that I needed to know, that when I booked my first gig, I was standing in again full-time for like a month. I was there for a month. And then I booked another thing right after that, and I was there for a month. And then I recently got back from another thing I did with Natalie for a couple months. So I was back and forth a lot. But then I started connecting with different casting directors by taking their classes and really being, not picky or choosy, but just really like falling in love with certain casting directors and developing that relationship and being like, oh, you're a human too, and we love the same thing, and you want to help me and I want to help you. And just taking their classes specifically and building intentional relationships. And I've gotten like auditions and booked with stuff with them, and I would have never gone to the New York market if I wasn't forced to join SAG. So that was kind of like,
Isn't
it
it
was
interesting
great.
how nobody's from New York or LA? Nobody's from there. They just, once you're there though, it's like from New York or LA. Nobody says I'm from Dubuque.
I'm from Lincoln.
I'm going to pop in off of the Actors Connection. I work at Actors Connection.
Hey!
I'm a host and a reader. What we do at Actors Connection is literally connect actors to agents and casting directors and other like coaches and professionals. Like we work with dialect coaches as well. It's a great resource. Talk to me after. I have a way you don't have to pay for your classes anymore.
I love that.
A connection.
We're making Actors Connections right here. But it is a wonderful gig, and it's one of the ways that I continue my training both as someone who gets to attend their classes and someone who gets to host the classes, which means I'm often a reader, so I'm the person you're reading opposite when you're doing a scene.
All right.
I find it interesting, though, that you're having to go to New York for your union work, which we don't need to talk about that, but that says something very big about what's going on in this area with the lack of work.
That's what I wanted to add. If you want to join the union, you have to be willing to travel.
Yeah.
The DMV market is limited right now. I mean, we've had periods of time when there was a lot of work and periods of time when there was no work and somewhere in between. But getting your acting experience, number one, getting agent, number two, and just be willing to travel.
So what does that mean for you? Do you consider yourselves mid-Atlantic actors?
I've been all over the country and all over the world, even from right here. I do a lot of voice work, a lot of things for games. I'm here because I do announcing for the Capitals and have for the past 26 years. However, I have a booth in my home that's set up, that's hooked up, and I can be in New York or LA in the drop of a hat. I have an LA agent. I just traveled to the UK and to Germany, and you can work anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter anymore exactly where you're at, as long as you're willing to go to where the work is. I'm willing to go to New York, willing to go to LA, but sometimes I can do that at home and not even wear my pants.
But you're at a place in your career where you can do that. If you're just starting out in Washington, D.C. and the DMV, this travel is a serious commitment. And how does that work for you all?
I mean, for me, I work remotely, my part-time job, and I make my own hours, so it's perfect. It's ideal. I don't have kids. I don't have any real things that are kind of like tying me, because that can be very difficult. I've had conversations with friends who have kids, or they have like, a full-time job, and they're like, I want to be an actor. How do I do it? And it's like, it's a full-time commitment. You really have to just be willing to like, I'm working remotely while I'm on set, and it's worked out for me really, really well, because at the drop of a hat, I've had people reach out to me, a casting director or my agent will call and be like, can you be in whatever state tomorrow? And I'm like, perfect. I'm actually on the way to the airport right now. So it's just having to be really flexible as an actor, Yeah.
You must have lots of airline miles.
Having a supplemental income is very important. But there's a lot of careers. A lot of friends here local in the DMV are realtors. Whether they can make their own schedule or some sales positions. Some do standardized patient work. Some do role-playing work. And some are lucky enough to have full-time jobs with flexible schedules. So just if you're lucky enough to have that, then I think that's what works.
I think it's important to have the two jobs, one that feeds the body and the other that feeds the soul. And if you don't have both of those as an actor, I think you starve to death in one way or the other.
True.
Yep, absolutely.
I do have to say, though, from the casting perspective, it's frequently now hard to know where an actor actually is. And when we have to organize a wardrobe fitting or an audition or a callback, a director's session, it's like, seriously, where do you sleep? And where will you be coming from? And can we make this actually happen? So I understand why actors want to be members of multiple markets. From a platform that I'd love to ask you about, if you work with Breakdown Services, Actors Access, EcoCast, I'm only allowed to put a breakdown out to 2 markets because I'm based in Virginia, and Virginia happens to be in the Southeast region as well as the Mid-Atlantic region. If I want to put it out in New York, I have to assure that you're being paid $300 a day and you get full travel. A lot of the projects that I work on can't afford to do that. So it takes us out of the market of all these New York actors who I know would do it in a nanosecond if they could, but Breakdown Services is deciding for you whether you're going to see that breakdown or not. But what platforms do you use to get your work?
Actors Access you'd mentioned is a good one. I hadn't done backstage in a while because, frankly, a lot of it is non-union these days that's coming across backstage. Unfortunately, somebody recently reached out to me to ask me to audition for something on backstage, so I had to join in order just to audition. So I have it for the next year. We'll give them another chance. We'll see how it goes. But there are many things out there that, like you say, we talk about union versus non-union. A lot of people try to go non-union, but you'll see people also these days, because things are flexible, say union or non-union. And I've discovered that if they like you and you can discuss it with them and make it easy on them, they're more than happy to go union to get you in there.
I don't have that experience.
Really?
I
Yeah.
have the complete opposite experience. But I'm glad that that's the experience that you're having, because from a producer standpoint, it is very hard to go union if you have one actor that's union, and I wish it were easier to do. I know that actors are told it's just a little bit of paperwork. It is not.
I use same Backstage and Actors Access, which is the actors' version of Breakdown Services. So for casting, it's Breakdown Services. On our end, it's Actors Access. Through Actors Access, you get Eco Casts, which are essentially through Breakdown Services self-tape request system, and sometimes live audition system. And those are the two main ones. I tried casting networks for a while, but they're so LA based that all the stuff here is commercial and extra work. It's even not a lot of extra work. It's just there's just like not a lot of stuff that's here. And while I had my braces on, so I couldn't do commercial work. I was like, I can do voiceover. So I ended up canceling my casting network subscription. Maybe I'll try them again, but I don't know.
I use casting networks, actually. It's one of the primary ones that I use and my agent uses along with Actors Access. But, again, that's for like the New York market. And it's so funny because I've had auditions in New York to book work here. So I'm New York local,
yes.
but I work here. It's quite
You're
funny.
absolutely right, Janea. I actually booked a gig for Maryland Lottery, but it was on casting networks from a Philly casting director.
Right.
So I would say casting networks is great. Actors Access #1 for sure.
Great. I'll restart my subscription.
I wanted to add a little bit. So Actors Access is the part of Breakdown Services for actors that don't have representation or are submitting themselves. Breakdown Services is part of the platform that agents and managers are submitting their actors to. So sometimes an actor will get submitted 3 times by themselves, by their manager, and by their agent. And that often will come down to budgets for very low budget independent films, literally whether the production can pay the plus 10% or for some agents plus 20%. But I also wanted to ask about Brian Dragonut Connects and Women in Film and Video. Do you use their listserv?
I do Dragonuk, yeah.
And Actors Center,
Yeah.
and the Virginia Film Office has a really good listserv. Do you make use of any of these things, or where do you see your auditions other than casting networks and Actors Access?
I've seen Dragonuk, and I was on Actors Center last year, but I'll be honest that I saw most of that same stuff on Dragonuk.
Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to local. And you don't see a lot of the stuff that you see on Actors Access through those.
Right.
Yeah, I did Actors Center for a while. I think they're under new management and figuring things out, so there hasn't been a lot of postings. The postings are all matching what's on Dragonug. And they had a lot of workshops that I would go take for discount, but I'm not seeing that much anymore, so I kind of stopped that for the time being.
Yeah.
And how did you get your agents and managers? How did that happen? If you have them, if you work with them, and who do you work with?
Yeah, so for me on SAG-AFTRA, the website, there's like a little tab you can go to and search for SAG franchised agents. That's what I really wanted. I wanted someone who was very familiar with like SAG and union and knowing what to submit me to and being able to follow all of those rules. And so a huge list came up in DC and New York and Philly. And so I just submitted my headshot and resume and a little, email. And I did that for, I think, every 6 months until I got represented by somebody who was representing, I think, like 1,000 people. And so it worked out for, I got auditions and stuff, but not as many as I wanted to. So I kept submitting every 6 months to the same people. And I was so persistent. And this one person was like, all right, I'll meet with you. And so finally we did. And she loved me. And we have a great relationship now. I've been with her for like almost 2 years now.
Did you start full, or did she hip pocket you to begin with?
Do what?
Hip pocketing is when an agent basically takes you on, and it's not necessarily having you under the auspices of the agency itself, but they represent you, so they sort of hip pocket you, and then as they realize that you can bring in work and you get things, they pull you up to full agency status. So you went to full agency status.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, for me, having a SAG franchise agent is very important. I'm represented by Doherty Talent Agency in Pittsburgh. They usually do the Pennsylvania market, West Virginia market. And I'm also represented by Sylvia Hudson in Virginia. She's fantastic. I've been with her for years and years and years. But Doherty has gotten me some really amazing auditions, like just the recent Superman movie. I had a chance to read for that. I didn't book it, obviously, but just to get on that level of auditioning was...
It's down between you and David Cornsweat.
Right. I know, right? It was for a construction worker who says, "Will you believe this shit?" So.
And they didn't cast you. I can't believe it.
It's very authentic.
It's perfect.
So.
My local agent is Paige Gold. I have not been diligently submitting to New York agents, even though I've been like, I need a New York agent. I'm like, have you actually done any of your submissions? No. So I am in the process of doing the submit every 6 months grind that I have fallen behind on. So I'll probably do that on Tuesday now that I'm accountable to you all. But yeah, my local agent is Paige Gold, who I got because she, I think, saw me in a play.
Cool.
Yeah. So I got very spoiled. I didn't have to work for my local agent at all, but I have to actually put in the effort to get representation for the New York market.
Well, it's great when they see you and they want you.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
it felt
good
real
stuff.
nice.
Yeah. I'm with Vanessa Gilbert. She used to be with TGMD. She was the G in TGMD, and this was back during the day when I was. I do some work with America's Most Wanted here or there. I remember getting shot in the butt once, shot in the face another time. I was getting shot a lot. But then they were doing a sister show, and they asked me to come in and do the announcing because I worked with Bill Glasser at HFS back in the days when I was Wild West. I'm Mild West now. But they had me doing the sister show, so I'm doing the announcing for that. But just before the new fall season, Don LaFontaine, the great trailer voice guy who did the thing, he passed away. And I was very sad because he and I were like weeks away from getting together and meeting each other. But they called me up and they said, "We're going right away. We're going to scrap the sister show. We want to move you up to the main show. Will you do it?" And I said, "Yeah." So I started fighting crime with my voice on America's Most Wanted. Live from the Museum of Crime and Punishment, here's John Walsh. And the agent for Don LaFontaine is Vanessa Gilbert. And she called up Bill and she's like, "Listen, we've got other people here. We'd like to still stay with you guys, but can we offer you an audition?" She said, "Well, we're going with this guy, Wes Johnson." She says, "Does he have an agent?" He said, "I don't know. I'll check." Well, I did sort of have an agent who had hip-pocketed me. And the last thing I heard from them was them saying, "Wes, are you in L.A.? Are you still big and heavy set? Would you like to wear a Speedo in a commercial?" And I'm like, no. So we hadn't spoken in a while, and I told Vanessa, "Yeah, if Don LaFontaine's agent wants you to join up with her, you say yes." And so I did, and I've been with her now for 15 plus years. We've gone from that agency, she left there, went to Solid Talent, and now she's with RSA Talent. And it's all female run, and they kick ass, and they're wonderful in LA, and I just love her. She's great.
Something you mentioned has really got me curious, going from Wild West to Mild West. Can you all talk about if you've been typecast, what roles you tend to get, what roles you want to get, if you have a big transformation, if you're aging up, how has that worked in your career so far?
I used to weigh 360 pounds. And John
So
Waters'
has it
film,
changed
a little
the
bit.
jobs that you get?
It has. I mean, I played a character named Fat Fuck Frank in A Dirty Shame. And, now losing 200 pounds, I'm a much different look. And all of my demo reels, no. So I immediately went out and started working.
I do look at your demo reel to see that you can act.
Yes.
That doesn't change.
There are certain things that I will keep, I do keep. However, I want my look, them to see what I look like now. Right. So I started working with a lot of different indie films, and I've had a great time doing that. A lot of different looks, a lot of different things, and the demo reels now stock with a lot of current looks, and some of the older ones just to let people know, hey, I'm hiding in there.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation, but congratulations. And also, when you're moving from like being the college student to maybe starting to get young mom roles or whatever, what does that feel like? And are you going after specific things?
I'm happy to jump in here. For women and folks femme of center, I feel like where you fall age-wise is so much more rigid than it is for men. You probably have the same experience. One of the things that I experience is constantly trying to figure out when I am aging in and out of like a certain type. So some of that is just like legitimately throwing spaghetti at the wall. Some of that is like your agent can be like, I know what your headshot looks like. I can tell you. But particularly when you're self-submitting, it's being like, am I a college student? Am I? Like, I know what age I actually am, but like I sort of one of my metrics is like, how often do I get carded? It tells me sort of like where I am and like what I'm falling into. There was a point where I was like, oh, I've aged out of my teen year. This was years ago. I've clearly aged out of my teen years now. But like my teen for TV years, I was like, I'm done. I'm out of them. And then somebody stopped me on the street to ask if I wanted to join their youth group. And I was like, okay. So I think we have a little bit longer.
The window's still open.
Like, are you lost, little girl? And I'm like, I'm a grown woman. So it is difficult. It also feels sometimes like, and this is confirmation bias, whatever tier you are about to jump into or have just left, that's what they're casting. Mm-hmm. Everybody was casting like people in their early 30s when I was like, no, I'm a young person who can pass for 30, and they're like, you look 14. Is that?
And it's also based on what I've noticed is people's different interpretation of what age is.
Yeah.
Like I had an audition yesterday and they were like, yeah, we're looking for a woman in her 40s, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if I should be insulted or no. But then I also had like an audition for like, early 20s, like a 20 to 22-year-old. And then like I had another audition where it was like, okay, early 30s, and then I auditioned and they were like, you're too young. And I'm like, well, what are these ages and what's this based on?
What do you think
like,
age is?
what? Because I've gotten booked and stuff, and they're like, well, I know we said 40s, but actually like 30s works.
There's
so
no
then
yardstick.
It's like, huh?
Yeah, you
No,
must
that
be
is
this
true.
old to ride this ride. There's no yardstick.
If you see an amazing person, you put that person forward, and magically the age will change. Of that role.
For me, it was been all about being a person of color that can play different ethnicities. So oftentimes I can check a few boxes with, Hispanic, Pacific Islander, South Asian, ethnically ambiguous, mixed race.
And how do you feel about that? Would you rather have authentic casting? Would you like the role to change to who you are if given the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, my nationality is Filipino, like our organizer, Joe Carabeo. But I feel that there hasn't been too many specific Filipino roles, right? So, and then, in fact, that's why I collaborated with some Filipino creatives in the area to make our short films called Barkada DMV. You can check it out on YouTube, where our entire cast is of Filipino descent. But I don't mind because I know what the roles are available are not always going to be my ethnicity. But since I've been told that I am versatile and I can submit for Latino and I speak Spanish, so that kind of helps as well, that it actually has been given more opportunities for me personally.
In some ways, because the casting now is, they want things to be a lot more authentic. There are times my agent, whether it be age, whether it be ethnicity, whether it be whatever, and you get something, you're like, I'd like to, her phrase is, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. And sometimes I don't realize that my lane has changed.
Sure.
It's like, am I in this lane now? I guess I should put the wrong blinker on and go slow.
I'm not sure of our time, but I wanted to open it up in the room for questions, if anyone has questions for our great panel.
Sorry, I'm not an actor, but more of a visual director, trying to learn more about approaching actors. And one thing I've noticed from my theater friends I've worked with, they don't like seeing themselves in playback a lot. Now I'm wondering where that's coming from, if it's too if it's too objective, or if they just want to stay away from it, or do you have any personal relationship with watching playback and the director coming over and pointing something out?
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in. As someone who trained in theater and has this kind of a similar feeling, theater in particular is so about, it's experiential. It is not about what you look like. The audience's interpretation of you is not yours. That's you do your thing, you let it go, it's out into the ether, and it's a shared moment, right? And it disappears the moment it's done. Film is a little bit different. And as a visual director, you're trying to be like, you're not in your light sometimes, right? Which might be a thing that you can tell them and they'll just move, because a theater director would just tell them to find their light, right? I think always asking how they feel about playback. Actors are sometimes, okay, I will speak for myself, but it's not thank you, 17. It's not an unusual experience. Actors can sometimes not enjoy the feeling of watching themselves. Being shown photos of you can kind of, set you off balance. I find that seeing how I look in a frame can get me really in my head. So as long as I am doing the thing you want me to do, you can show me where my framing is, but if I'm having a bad mental health day and I'm dehydrated because I don't want to have to run away to use the bathroom and I want to be here on set, and you show me my face and I look bad, I'm gonna spend the rest of the scene being no, I'm here, I'm present, I'm not the thing in the mirror, right? So that can be some of it. Some of it's body dysmorphia. Some of it's literally just our job is not the same as your job. Our job is to put it out and let it go.
It's so funny. I'm the opposite. Yeah. I love watching playback. I love watching myself. That sounds really conceited.
No,
but
it's great.
I find it because I, grew up with a theater background. And then when I switched to film, it was so different. And I had to unlearn a lot from theater and learn new things for film. And what I love about film is it lives forever. And so because it lives forever, I want to know what it looks like forever. So I want to watch playback, and I want to see what the director is seeing or what the DP is seeing. And, they'll show me and I'll look and I'll be like, oh, yeah, the way I'm positioned looks really weird, or that facial expression I had when I was saying that line, I was thinking of this thing, but it looks like disgust. That's not what I was going for. Let me change up the tactic to, whatever it is. So for me, I personally love watching playback. I find it very helpful to be involved in that creative process.
I agree. I like looking at the playback because we're basically storytellers, and if my actions are not helping to tell the story and the director says, see here, look at this, we can look at that together. I also come from a background of I'm a cartoonist, I'm an artist, and so I want to make sure that this picture tells the proper story. And again, if I'm saying something within myself that I don't think is registering on the film, it gives me a chance to enhance, to do a little nuance, a little change, a little tweak here or there. And it doesn't pull me so completely out of the character. I can get right back into that world. I can get right back into the world of that character. But to know exactly, it's as if you're shooting an arrow and it's a little off base. And by taking a look at your shot, you can see what you have to do to make it hit dead center. I'm all for that. And if you and the director together can look at this scene and come up with something that you think will work even better, I'm all for that. And, I don't have any problems looking at myself because I don't see myself as myself. I see myself as the character.
And I feel like film is also a lot more technical. That's what I had to notice. I love what you said. It was so beautiful about theater. It's just that like relationship with the audience, and it's a live thing that will never exist again. Like that was so beautifully said. Film for me, I had to go from that. Like I remember one of my first films where I had like a lead role, and it was very dramatic, and I had to like cry and all this stuff. And I had a very hard time with it because it's a 12-hour day versus an hour and a half performance on stage. So I was like, this is not sustainable. This is not working. Also, like the restarting. And it's like, one of the things I taught myself is how to cry on cue. And I would practice in my car, and I would time myself, on my way to work.
You are pulled over in the car.
Yeah. And so I got it down from like, it took me 30 minutes to cry. It took me 10 minutes to cry. And now it's like 30 seconds. And, I was on a film recently, and I'm watching playback, and I'm like, oh, I want it to come out of the left eye. Let's, restart.
Wow.
So it's like film is very, very technical, and knowing what you look like, and because I can see in my mind's eye what I'll look like on screen because I'm so used to it now, and I've been doing it for so long that it's like in my mind's eye I can see what it would look like, knowing, and communicating, hey, what, lens are we using? What's the size? What's the framing? What's the, what's it look like? It's so helpful for me to know.
Something that I've learned working with actors that are moving from theater into film in the audition process, and how big everything is. And this is probably very obvious, but you're taught to play to the last row.
I'm being subtle.
Yes. But the way I tend to explain it to an actor when they're first working with the camera is that the camera can read your mind. So if you think it, we will see it. You do not have to push a single thing. It's right here. And that takes a minute to figure. That is a complete, you're still like an athlete, but it's a different event.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, Ann? The microphone is the same way when you're just doing audio. It hears your expression. It hears your movement. It hears your emotion. You don't have to bend it like Beckham. Just be it, and it will hear.
That's fascinating. Did that answer your question?
It did, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, beautiful thought on the ether. I like that a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, if I just to like wrap it up, I would say always just ask your performer, because some performers, like, it's so helpful to see, and some performers are like, that's just, I'm a skittish racehorse,
Do we have any more questions? Well, I have another question, if you don't mind. And I know that this isn't when you're on set, but actors have been put in the place now where they have to be their own director, lighting director. You know what I'm talking about? What is this self-taping thing for you? When's the last time you were at an in-person audition?
Oh, boy, it's been a while.
How does that feel?
I loved the in-person sometimes. It does allow them to see you as a human, and you get interaction right there. They say, try this, try that. And in the moment, it can be wonderful. The self-tape can be a little lonely. You always have to make a choice with a character. You always have to decide who this character is, think of their background, who they are, become that character, and make a choice. But you have to make a choice now, I think, and this has always been the case, but even more so, for yourself. Make the choice for yourself, not for who you think it's going to be for, not for who you think you're auditioning for. You look at that character, you look at that page, you think of that character, and you say, this is who they are. You find them within you, and then you play that truth. And if the director wants a change later, they will come back in a callback and ask you for that. But if you do an audition and try to imagine what somebody's going to want, you're not going to give them what they want or what you want.
Facts.
I personally love the self-tape method because you're sending your best take.
Can you describe what it is? I don't know that everyone
So
listening knows what it
a
is.
self-tape audition is basically you're recording your audition from home. Sometimes you use a reader, and you're editing the video and you're reading sides that the casting director sends you. And you submit that video to the agent or to the casting. And an in-person audition's obviously very different because you're in person with the casting director, with the producers of the project. But I feel like with the self-tape, it's just revolutionized the audition process, and not only for convenience and time, but just to be able to maybe evaluate the takes you've done, maybe get feedback from friends and colleagues. This is my best take. I'm going to submit it. Whereas if you're doing an in-person audition, sometimes it's a cold read. Maybe you get the sides ahead of time, but you have to be on point as soon as you walk in that room. So that's my opinion on self-tape versus
And I have a
in-person.
couple of other questions. I think that it is amazing for actors because you could submit to things all over the nation.
Right.
But it also changes. In a casting office, we could see maybe 45 actors in one day. And now we'll get, no joke, 1,875 submissions for one role of self-tape. So you have to, go through all of that. So it's easier for you, but your competition is much bigger. It gives you the opportunity to be in casting offices, and auditioning for projects, but man, it just opened up the wild
The
west.
floodgates.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you want to go?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I think that's why networking is so important. Taking classes with casting directors, because sometimes I'll get sent stuff directly, which has been
But
super
LOL,
helpful.
that is not supposed to be what those classes are about. So
Yeah.
don't mention the casting directors' names that has worked well for you, because they can get in trouble for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, through breakdown services and stuff, and they actually send us their email, and they're like, "Hey, connect with us, invite us to
We're
film
not
festivals."
supposed to do that.
And oh,
But can it
It's
be?
against
But
our
it's
that's
makes
for the
them human, though. In your eyes,
Yeah.
you see them differently. I
Yes.
would imagine.
I think you
Yeah.
can wait 6 months or something like that, but that is, it's not supposed to be pay to play.
Right.
well, it's more I guess for me, it's been more of a relationship kind of thing. I've taken classes over years with these people, and it's kind of developed into going to film festivals and this and that, and all playing in the same pool of people and stuff. But I'll take workshops that are acting classes specifically, versus just self-tape workshop with this casting director or whatnot. But I've heard so many different opinions with casting directors when it comes to self-tapes, which is so funny because some casting directors are like, "Hey, we really just want to see you just on the couch or this or that," and then some are like, "Oh, we need the blue backdrop, we need this kind of lighting, we need that." So I think knowing the casting director too, and kind of what they're looking for might help. But yeah, most of the auditions don't even really get seen by directors at the end of the day anyway.
One other thing that I really enjoy about self-tapes that we couldn't get in the room, being in the room is wonderful. It's lovely to, meet people and see them in person and be like, I have legs. But, I mean, we do the full body shot when we do self-tapes for that as well, I guess. There's I get to, as an actor, be the reader for my friends' auditions. Which is such a wonderful experience, which, if my friend is auditioning in the room, I'm not going in there with them being like, you got it, buddy. Thank you, 5. But getting to help my friends. So my friends have various different perspectives. Sometimes when you're someone's reader, you're just like, I'm here to say the lines and get out. And sometimes you have friends who are like, give me feedback. And so you end up being reader and coach, scene partner and coach, which is just... God, it's the best. And that's a thing that never would have been accessible to me without the self-tape world. So as lonely as it can be, as awkward as it can be, going through being which take do I look like a person in? There are some really wonderful benefits to it, and there is some community in it.
I think it's great that you do the reading, an actor actually doing the reading of the other lines, because I've been in auditions where you're up against somebody and you're like, I love you. I've always loved you. I love you too.
Yeah.
Well, kiss me. It's like, oh.
Wait, don't go. Yeah.
We only have a couple of minutes left, so I'd love to give each of you about a minute for any final thoughts or things that you would love to share with everyone about what what it is to be an actor in 2025.
I'd say diversify. It's not one thing. Don't say, I have to do just stage. I have to do just this. I've done a little of everything, whether it's stand-up, whether it's improv, whether it's stage. I've done video games. Shea Gorath, Daedric, Prince of Madness, about 100 different character voices, announcing for the Capitals. Whatever you can do, commercials. You find work. It's all storytelling. It's all part of who you are. We are like the minstrels of old, traveling from town to town, putting on a show when we get to different places. The medium does change. You can play small ball, large, big rooms, small rooms, take it from within. But just continue to do and never give up, never surrender.
If I want to say, create your own content. I think that's a very important tip. Because sometimes you might not be given the lead role, but you might have the opportunity to be a lead in your own produced film, which can be challenging. But the more you work in the industry, the more context you have, the more networking you have, and you can find a team that has interests. Another great avenue is the 48-hour film project, where a lot of actors and filmmakers collaborate and produce a film within 48 hours. That's a great way to network and get involved with a project as well.
Or the DC Shorts Film Festival.
Or the DC, the DC Shorts Film and submit your film to the DC Shorts Independent Film Festival. International Film Festival, sorry.
I would say do stuff that scares you. If it's something you want to do, just take that risk and do it if you don't feel ready. Because you're never going to feel ready. Like me going to New York, I never felt ready. And I still don't, but that's where I am. And it's made all the difference in the world. And build relationships, go to fun things, go to events, network, take classes.
Absolutely.
Like it's, you really meet lifelong people that, you end up working with over and over again. And even New York is such a small market. I've worked on so many different sets and I'm like, you. Even some people from DC I've met up there. So yeah.
And Janea and I were in a feature film. It's a rom-com meet cute film that shot mostly in DC, but cast mostly New York and LA based actors. I think myself and Janea were one of the few DC based actors that were in this film. So
Drop that title.
it's called Step Back Doors Closing. Hopefully it'll be available. I just met with the director in Los Angeles last month. So distribution is forthcoming. Yeah.
And I guess I'll close us out with, like Wes said, being an actor is being a bard. It's being a storyteller. Find the stories that you want to tell, that you're passionate about, whether that's you making your own work, which I would solidly advise you to do, so you can actually feed your soul, or it's, reading great scripts and being like, I love this, I want to do this, put me in, coach. And this is true, I think, of every profession, but I think particularly of actors. Make sure that you are a human being first. Do not get. They give this well-meaning but terrible advice in drama school, which is don't do this unless you can't do anything else, which makes you boring. So make sure that you're feeding your soul as a human being, and that you're approaching your relationships with integrity and kindness, and that you have a full life so that you can bring all of that into your work.
Ooh, and following that, also have boundaries. Know what your boundaries are, know what you're willing to do and not willing to do ahead of time, and stick to that. Don't cross your own boundaries ever.
A power to say no is a superpower.
Yes.
For my New York friends who have gone out and done these things, made the jumps and the leaps, all I can say is I like to think of it like a bungee jump. You're standing on the side of a bridge, and you've got this jump. You've got to make a leap. You have to take a choice. And you don't know whether or not you've tied off that cable really well. But here's the thing. You have your entire life been tying off the cable to both yourself and your base, your boundary. You've done this your entire life. At a certain point, you have to go on faith and just jump.
Yeah.
Just go.
Thank you, Joe, for hosting this panel. Much appreciated.
Joe, yeah.